Hello everybody, welcome to Garden of Luma, where I provide you tips with growing edibles in hot climates. Hello everybody, Joe here with Garden of Luma. In today's video, I'm going to take you guys on a backyard tour and show you everything that's going on in my urban garden. If you guys are new to this channel, please subscribe to stay updated on the latest videos. I do a new video every Wednesday and Saturday. It is June 21st, which is technically the first day of summer. For us in the desert, it feels like it's been summer for several months now, so that date doesn't mean a whole lot to us here. For those of you guys in the East Coast or in cooler climates, that is probably more meaningful to you guys, that date. But for us here, it's been hot for a while. We have sunshine pretty much year round, so that date just doesn't mean much. But anyways, wanted to give you guys a tour, a summer tour, just to show you guys it's been extremely hot here. June is typically one of our hottest, drier months of the year. So we've been consistently around 110 degrees Fahrenheit the last few weeks. And so I want to just show you guys what it's looking like now. And the reason why I do these videos is just to help inspire you guys, to get you guys thinking about what is possible for growing in hot climates. So a lot of times, you know, you think of the desert just full of cactus and not being able to grow much here because it gets so hot. But you can actually do a lot in a hot climate. And so I was inspired by a lot of other gardeners, and I just want to pay it forward with others and show you guys what is possible. With that being said, I like to give you guys a timeline before I start these videos, just to give you a little bit of history. So I started Garden of Luma in 2016. I've been gardening in the Phoenix, Arizona area overall for about 10 years now, 9 or 10 years. But we moved and I started this specific garden in 2016. So most of the things have either started around that time or maybe a year later, just to give you guys an idea time-wise on how old things are. So let's go take a look and I'll show you guys around, tell you a little bit about each thing I'm growing. So I hope you guys enjoy. All right, let me just start by giving you like a quick 360 view of the yard, just to give you guys some perspective of how it all Okay, so I'll start here with my Tikal Sapodilla. And if you get up close here, this guy has been flowering quite a bit here. You can see a lot of the flower buds there. And I've been trying to hand pollinate this, hoping to get some fruit. This tree I purchased in 2016, so it's going into its third year. Last year I was able to get one fruit to set, but it ended up dropping off. So I haven't had fruit on this tree yet, but I'm hoping this year to get maybe a couple, so we will see. Next to it I have sunflowers. I have sunflowers kind of growing everywhere here, and these are just, seems like the perfect flower for a hot, dry climate like the desert. And I use these guys for for some wind protection. I have like my AC units here that blow some hot air up here, so these are nice to just give some extra wind protection for the trees over here. And they also are good for a little bit of shade protection as well. Okay, down below I have one of my Canistel seedlings. And then down next to the Canistel seedling, right there, is, I believe, a black goji berry. I planted some black goji berry seeds in there and only one, I think, sprouted. I think that's what that is. Have some just volunteer watermelons growing here on the ground. Here is my Bradenton loquat. Doing really well. And I haven't shade protected this either. So, you know, we've been through some really hot days consistently around like 110 right now in June. And I held off on the shade protection this year. I didn't want to protect anything. So I'm trying to go this summer without protecting anything. We'll see if this starts to burn at all. I will throw up the shade. But as of now, everything's staying pretty green. You do definitely want to shade these guys really heavily the first year. This is going into, I purchased this the fall of 2017, so it's had some time to get established. But definitely that first year you want really heavy shade. I used 80% shade fabric on this tree just to allow it to get some root establishment and things. Otherwise, these can fry pretty good without that shade. I have citronella mini roses growing next to it. Here's my Indonesian seedless guava. And this one I was growing in a container for a few years. Last year, I want to say last fall, I put it in the ground. It did get hit quite a bit from the cold, but now it's fully recovered, really green. And this guava tends to be a little bit more sensitive to our climate here than some of my other guavas. A lot of my other guavas can handle the full sun and the heat really well, but this one seems to struggle a little bit more. So I do have it a little bit more shaded in this spot, and it seems to be doing really well. It hasn't flowered at all this year, which is kind of strange. I'm not really sure why. So I'm still waiting for it to possibly flower. It did fruit last year for me. I got a couple fruits and I didn't really care for the fruit. So I didn't know if it was because, you know, it was still a newer tree or whatever. So I'm hoping to sample a few more fruits and see how they taste. All right, here are my Rosboro blackberries. Just sprawling out everywhere here. I had a ton of blackberries this year, and I want to show you something buried back in here. You can kind of see there is a sugar apple seedling, and so it's kind of gotten engulfed by these blackberries and everything. But one of the cool things about that is it made it through our really cold winter this year. So with the help of all this foliage protection, it was able to get through nights of like lows of 25 degrees. Here's my misty blueberries. I have my sprinklers kind of popping out there. My red hybrid jabuticaba. This one I started a little over a year ago from seed, and it's a really slow growing tree, but it is starting to put on some growth here. It looks really good, really healthy, and I kind of treat this more like a blueberry. It's in a lot of peat moss and more acidic soil. Occasionally I'll water it with vinegar and use fertilizer that's more suited for acidic plants. Most of my trees, my fruit trees, I use soil that promotes a lot of drainage. This is in mostly peat moss, which holds a lot of water, because jabuticaba really can take those conditions. They really like to be wet all the time, so I don't worry about that with this. Here's one of my canistel seedlings. Next to it I have my Barbie pink guava. Let me take you around here. You can just see here on one of the branches all the guavas on it. I mean, this thing is just covered in guavas. You can see there just tons of guavas on a tree in a container. So guavas definitely do really well in a container. This is the Barbie pink. Here is my soursop that I grew from seed. And this is doing excellent here. A lot of just beautiful new green foliage. I started this from seed in 2016. Here is my white sapote, Subel white sapote. This tree has been a really extremely slow grower, but this year I've actually seen some consistent growth on it. Yeah, I was actually thinking about removing this tree towards the end of last year because it just was not doing anything at all. I purchased this tree in 2016 in the fall, and really for about 2 years it didn't really do much of anything, but this year it's actually started to grow, so I'm excited about that. Here is my Sprite Delight cherry plum, and I've been harvesting a lot of these little cherry plums. They taste pretty much like a traditional plum, but they are about the size of like a large cherry. So I had a decent crop of these here. I had mainly, I believe, the Delight, which is supposedly a little bit more tart than the Sprite variety. The Sprite is the sweeter, better variety, and I didn't really get much of that this year. Okay, here is my Silas Wood Sapodilla. And this one I'm growing in a container. And this one has also been flowering quite a bit. So I'm hoping that some of these flowers take. Here's my early Grand Peach tree. I pruned this guy back quite a bit after the fruiting season. And I know a lot of people will only prune in the winter, but for me, since I want to keep this tree a smaller, manageable size, I am not afraid to prune during the summer at other times of the year. It doesn't bother me at all to prune at various times. Here's my Caracara Navel Orange. And for the first time, I have one orange on the tree. So I did at least get one fruit this year. Again, this was purchased in 2016, so it is in its third year. I have my Mayer lemon, which isn't looking very good. This tree in the winter really struggled. It produced heavily. I had a heavy crop of lemons on this, but then all the leaves got really beat up in the winter and just started slowly dropping, and it's just kind of sputtered along since then. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. Here is my sugar apple tree, also grown from seed, been flowering quite a bit, and I have noticed, as you can see there, a few fruit set on it. I've been out here hand pollinating it pretty frequently, hoping to get some fruit, and I have noticed that I have a few setting here, so I'm excited about that. Wasn't really sure if this would fruit at all here in the desert, because during pollination they really like humidity for optimal pollination, which we do not get much of that right now in June. So we'll see how this develops. If it makes it through our summer heat, I'll keep you guys updated on that. Here's my Kerry mango tree. There's one of the mangoes. Getting to be good size here now. I have, I believe, 5 or 6 on here this year. One of my African Pride Adamoya seedlings that I grew as a seed, or I grew from seed in 2016. This one's in the ground. Behind it is my Sherwood jujube. Take you up closer there. And this tree has quite a bit of fruit on it. Let me show you some of it. You can see some of the jujubes up here. My Parfianca pomegranate. This tree is just absolutely loaded with pomegranates. I'm having a tough time keeping it upright here since it's so heavy with fruit. There's my raised bed gardens here. Still have a bunch of tomato plants going on. Watermelon. You can see a watermelon plant sprawling out under here. My other raised bed is just completely watermelon, the Desert King variety. And you can see one of the melons right there. I believe I have 6 watermelons on this vine. Here is my Black Mission fig. As you can see, this guy has several figs on it. Down below it is my Peter's Honey and Violet Day Bordeaux figs that I started from cutting. Here's my dwarf everbearing mulberry. Just produced an extremely heavy crop of mulberries this year. And again, I just recently pruned this back after fruiting to keep it at a manageable size here. My Peruvian white guava. And if I get up closely here, absolutely just covered in guavas. So I'm gonna have a huge crop of guavas this year, probably around August. And this is my absolute favorite guava that I've tasted. And again, this tree got pretty beat up in the winter, if you watched any of my videos from the winter time. But it just bounced back, recovered nice, really green, just putting out a ton of foliage. And I did not protect this tree at all in the winter time, so definitely guavas can make it here in the Phoenix, Arizona area pretty well without protection or anything. They may not look pretty in the winter and get somewhat beat up, but they will push through our climate here. Here's my Jamaican cherry. I've been starting to get some ripe fruit lately on this guy. The birds have been beating me to it. I've had a lot of issues with birds getting to my fruit this year. But as you can see, this thing is just covered in berries. Here's my other African Pride Adamoya seedling. This one I'm doing in a container. I tried to hand pollinate a few of the blossoms on this tree. This one had about 5 or 6 flowers on it, but none of them took. Okay, so here's one of my canistel. This is my Gary mango tree here, kind of wedged in next to this bougainvillea. Again, sunflowers going on around here. This is my scraggly looking kit mango. This produced fruit last year. This year I decided to cut all the fruit off and just let it focus on some more growth. So as you can see, it's starting to do a growth flush right now. Here's my Itamaraca mango tree, putting out a lot of growth. This one is a seedling. It's been a lot more vigorous than my grafted mango trees. And lastly, my Barbados cherry tree. And let me show you, there's one of the Barbados cherries. And the birds definitely love this tree and get to the berries, so you have to do something to protect it. All right, check me out at gardenofluma.com for more tips on gardening and growing fruit trees, especially in hot, dry climates. Thanks for watching.